Here is the 10 most collectible muscle cars in 2024. Starting off at number 10, we have the 1963 Pontiac Catalina Swiss Cheese. When the Pontiac Catalina was redesigned in 1963, it had stacked quad headlights and a choice of two different V8 engine displacements, 6.4 and 6.9 liters. Pontiac was one of the automakers still building factory-built lightweight vehicles for drag racing at this period. Its Swiss cheese was basically a lightened, stripped-down Catalina mated to a specially ordered, Super Duty 6.9-liter V8 engine, producing 405 horsepower. Only 14 of these intriguing vintage automobiles were produced, as the film reveals, and they are remarkable in the amount of attention to detail that went into their weight-saving design. The value is still there, but the price increases fast because of the popular engine and body type combinations. With only 14 produced and no information on how many still exist today, Swiss cheese Catalinas are quite uncommon. The next most potent engine, a 390 horsepower optional V8 found on normal, road-legal Catalinas, is only 15 horsepower more powerful than the 405 horsepower 2x4 barrel V8 it sports. That, the Pontiac Catalina with Swiss cheese, may get $292,000. This makes sense, given how uncommon the vehicle is. At number 9, we have the 1970 Chevrolet Chevelle SS convertible. In the world of muscle cars, the 1970 Chevy Chevelle SS 454 LS6 is arguably the king of the muscle cars. Only 4,475 Chevelles were equipped with the factory-installed LS6 upgrade, making it one of the most sought-after cars of its time. Chevy dropped their powerful LS6 into 3 different Chevy Chevelle models: the Coupe, Convertible, and El Camino. Hemmings referred to it as a known unknown, as it was unclear how many of each type of vehicle really received the high-horse version of the 454 cubic inch powerhouse. The 1970 Chevelle SS 454 LS6 convertible is the rarest of all Chevelles. Estimates vary, but there is some consensus that there are about 20 to 25 drop tops left in the world. This makes discovering an unbroken, numbers-matching specimen an incredible prize. The engine of these 3 specimens, the LS6, was rated 5,600 RPM for 450 horsepower and 3,600 RPM for 500 pound-feet of torque. It's widely known that at this particular period in hot rod history, there was a discrepancy between reported and real horsepower numbers. Remember our question in the beginning of the video? Let's see if you got the answer correct. Coming in at number 8, we have the 1969 Pontiac GTO Judge Convertible. One of the most sought-after muscle cars of its day was the 1969 Pontiac GTO Judge Convertible. Originally released as a limited edition model, this iconic car has since grown in value and become a collector's item. It is easy to understand why with its striking style and powerful functionality. The 1969 Pontiac GTO Judge Convertible's powerful engine is one of its best qualities. A 400 cubic inch V8 engine with 366 horsepower was the power plant used with this model. With this engine, the driver may choose between a 3-speed automatic or a 4-speed manual gearbox, providing total control over the power and performance of the vehicle. A number of performance enhancements were also added in the GTO Judge Convertible, which contributed to its outstanding performance. This had power brakes, power steering, a rear spoiler, and dual exhaust system. These characteristics work together to provide the GTO excellent high-speed handling and an exciting driving experience. Naturally, a Pontiac GTO Judge Convertible wouldn't be the same without its recognizable design. This particular model has the Judge, badges on the bonnet, and rear deck lid, along with a striking orange paint job with black racing stripes. Additionally, It had a white convertible top that the driver and passengers could raise or lower to enjoy the breeze in their hair with a simple button push. At number 7, we have the 1970 Plymouth Roadrunner Superbird. The Superbird is the epitome of a muscle car. It was built in the late 1960s, anything goes era, and is perhaps one of the rarest vehicles ever made. It has an incredible amount of horsepower, outrageousness, lineage, and rarity. It is a synthesis of American automobile culture, aerodynamic engineering, stock car racing, and automotive style. Remarkably, it could be among the few mass-produced vehicles designed with a single individual in mind. The goal was to reunite the legendary stock car racer Richard Petty with a Chrysler vehicle and return him to the winner's circle after he left to compete for Ford. Aerodynamic perfection and refinement meant the difference between standing on the podium at Talladega or careening off the 31-degree banking at Daytona as NASCAR drivers raced across America's superspeedways at dizzying speeds. The Superbird was the first real move in that direction, but modern racing vehicles are full of many winglets, fins, and devices that increase downforce and improve lap times 1 millisecond at a time. In 1970, while the Superbird was still being developed, NASCAR amended its regulations to mandate the equivalent of 1 sale per dealer, meaning that Plymouth had to sell more than 500 vehicles. For Creative Services Inc., which was converting the cars, Plymouth minimized production delays by keeping the engine options as straightforward as possible. Here at number 6, we have the 1969 Chevrolet Camaro ZL1. The 1969 ZL1 Camaro is not susceptible to recency bias, unlike some automobiles that do as they become older. Fred Gibb, a well-known Chevrolet high-performance automobile dealer, was the guy behind the 1969 ZL1 Camaro. Hence, he was the first owner of the first batch of vehicles produced. Very worthy, as he is the one who worked out how to turn the huge block ZL1 racing engine in the Camaro into a street-legal vehicle without bothering General Motors, which had imposed regulations on Chevrolet. The following is the tale of the 1969 ZL1 Camaro, what it accomplished, and its current state. In 2005, a customer paid an astounding $840,000 for a Camaro ZL1, car number 18, breaking the previous record for Camaro sales. Remarkably, the identical vehicle, which sold for $600,000 in 2016, was unable to repeat the feat. In 2008, the record was broken by a Camaro ZL1 with a Rally Sport package with only 7,700 miles on the clock. Mecum Auctions took $848,000 on its sale. At number 5, we have the 1969 Dodge Charger Daytona. There was a period when NASCAR was called stock car racing. Why? That's because the race vehicles were constructed using actual production automobiles and drivetrains back then, before the cars were standardized. Aerodynamics was a factor that American automakers considered while creating new models, considering how they might improve the design to provide their racing divisions a competitive advantage. Ford, Chevy, and Mopar battled it out for bragging rights, which they thought would convert into dealership sales. These were truly great days. As a result, several cars were constructed only for the racing side of the ledger. They would only produce enough of these vehicles to meet the requirements for production cars. The 1969 Dodge Charger Daytona was one such vehicle. Yes, just 503 of these enormous aerodynamic marvels were produced. And the only reason the rest of us ordinary people could purchase one off the dealer lot was because Dodge desired to win some races in the NASCAR Cup. The Daytona had a huge rear deck wing, measuring 23 inches, and it had a sheet metal nose cone in place of the grille, which allowed the Charger to fly through the air. The Daytona named after the Daytona 500, made history by being the first NASCAR to reach 200 miles per hour on the track, which at the time was quite an accomplishment. You see, Plymouth's top driver, Richard Petty, was leaving for Ford since the 1968 Dodge Charger 500 wasn't performing all that well. Don't worry, he returned, mostly because of the wing cars. Driven by Buddy Baker, the Daytona was just what Dodge needed, and it won its maiden race, the Talladega 500. Now at number 4, 1965 Shelby GT350R Fastback. Carroll Shelby, the mastermind behind this insane project, was given the task by Ford CEO Lee Iacocca to create a vehicle capable of dominating the Sport Car Club of America, SCCA, B production class in racing. Unlike other cumbersome muscle vehicles of the time, the street car was smaller, more agile, and equipped with pixie glass windows, a roll cage, and fender flares that held bigger wheels and tires. It was an athletic and menacing manifestation of speed. These fastbacks, which were driven by a hot-rodded 289 cubic inch V8, gained reputation for their concentrated performance, which defied the pony car formula. 3 years running, veterans like Ken Miles, Bob Bondurant, and Peter Brock have won the SCCA B Production Championship. Values for excellent road car specimens have been pushed up to $1.05 million by Racing Mythology. In fact, when it sold for $3.85 million in 2020, the original GT350R prototype, chassis number 5R002, became the most costly Mustang on the globe. At number 3, we have the 1969 Pontiac Firebird convertible. Looking back, choosing a 1969 Pontiac Firebird with the $750 Trans Am option could have seemed like a no-brainer. Driven by a 4-barrel quadrajet carburetor and producing 400 horsepower from an HO V8 with Ram Air 3 heads, the package added unique spoilers, scoops, and trimmed to 689 coupes but just 8 convertibles. Owners have profited handsomely from the dividends on those ragtops. After accounting for inflation, $750 in 1969 is equivalent to around $6,100 now. However, a well-maintained 1969 Pontiac Firebird convertible is worth $1.45 million. This car at number 2 is an amazing car. The 1970 Dodge Challenger Convertible RT. Extreme is the nature of muscle automobiles. Their respective automakers' attitude of cramming the largest engine feasible into a compact body is to blame for this. Due to its infamously flexible body, which rendered its most sought-after 426 Hemi engine option wildly powerful for the model's voluminous chassis, the 1970 Dodge Challenger Convertible RT added still another level of intrigue. Finally, at number 1, we have the 1971 Plymouth Cuda convertible. Just as the Mustang was derived from the Falcon, the Plymouth Barracuda, named after the predatory fish, was built on the less expensive Valiant chassis. The so-called Cuda version was even hotter than Barracudas, but a specific hot-rodded Plymouth model became the pinnacle of muscle vehicles because of its intimidating nature and the success of racing star Dan Gurney when he drove it. Only 11 of the 16,159 Barracudas with the extra powerful Cuda engine were marketed as convertibles for the 1971 model year, and only 3 of those had automatic gearboxes. Due to its scarcity, one example's bidding reached $4.8 million at an auction in 2021, but it fell short of reserve. Thank you for staying through till the end. Kindly hit the subscribe button